Hi, I'm Spiff. I woke up like 5 minutes ago, and I think this is a good time to do a tier list of every roguelike that I've ever played long enough to have an opinion on it. So I've played plenty more than this, but most of the other ones I've only played for like 30 minutes or so. I don't really think it's long enough to have an opinion. Also, the list, whether or not even Day of the Diver is a roguelike, is like I don't know. You can contest that. But I don't care. So we're just going with the standard S, A, B, C, D. And yeah, we have like, how many? 31? 31. I added Wild Frost here. I only got Wild Frost less than a week ago. I already have like 12 hours in it, so I can give you an opinion on Wild Frost. And we're just going to go in alphabetical order, because why not? Who doesn't love the alphabet? I know you love the alphabet. You've been reciting it since you were freaking 2 years old. Kind of trying to cart here, stunting like you don't like the alphabet. It is tier list time. Okay. I'm also going to give a brief description of each of these games in case you haven't played them. And then I'm going to go in depth as to why I like or don't like certain parts of this game. Yeah, there are going to be strong opinions and there are going to be wrong opinions. The wrong opinions are the opinions that aren't mine. Strong opinions are all of mine. Okay. So first up, we have 20 Minutes Till Dawn. It's a Survivors esque, and you'll see that I put a few survivors here. So it's 20 Minutes Till Dawn, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, of course, Vampire Survivors, Soulstone Survivors. I've played a few of the Survivor-esque games. Bone Razor Minions as well, actually, is a Survivor-esque. And I do have strong opinions on the genre as a whole and also on each of them, but I'll talk about the genre as a whole when we get to Vampire Survivors. I really like 20 Minutes Till Dawn. I like the graphics. I like that it's 20 minutes. I feel like 20 minutes is the perfect amount of time for a Survivor-esque roguelike run. Because I feel like once you get past 20 minutes, it's just, I don't know. Your build is already there. Everything's already there. Like, let's just get the shit going. There is a few problems I have at 20 Minutes Till Dawn. Mostly just that, like, some things are just so much stronger than other things. And some characters just have a really hard time, like, starting out. And the problem with Survivor games is, obviously, the more things you kill, the more XP you gain, the better you do. So you have to snowball that shit hard to have any kind of chance later on. And some characters in 20 Minutes Till Dawn don't really snowball that well. I do really like the game in general. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put it at a solid B. B is good. I think B is good. C is like mildly lacking. D is like, I did not like this game, even though I put enough hours into it to know what my opinion of it is. So 20 Minutes Till Dawn, solid B. Okay, Against the Storm is a roguelike city builder. And honestly, it's the first city builder that I've ever played properly. Because I've tried for years to play city builder games, and I just could not get into them. I don't know, there's either too slow of a start, or like too much stuff that you need to know, or like the weirdest mechanics. I don't know, it's just not for me, I thought. But then I started playing Against the Storm, and I was like, this is perfect. It explains things for you. You can kind of go in each of the little towns that you build. So you build a town up into a certain point, and then it's like, cool, you've won. And then you build another town, etc., etc. You cut into like glades that have different events and that kind of stuff, so it keeps it fresh. I think I have more than 100 hours in Against the Storm as of now, and I really, really like the game. At this point, though, with like 100 hours, the only thing left for me to do is to try and do the higher difficulties. And the higher difficulties are really difficult. I've only gotten to like the third or fourth one, and I'm already having a really hard time. There's 20 of them. So, I don't know. We'll talk about this again at Slay the Spire, which also has 20 extended difficulty levels. That I dislike when the only thing you can do besides just keep playing, mostly the same game. Once you've unlocked everything and been playing for quite a while, the only thing you can do is just like up the difficulty a little bit, up the difficulty, up the difficulty. You know what I mean? Because sometimes Against the Storm is very much a chill game for me. I like just kind of sitting back, playing on like the 3rd or 4th difficulty, which is like veteran or Viceroy, I think it is. Yeah, it's a skill issue. Yeah. I just like chilling out and stuff, but there's only so many times I can do that without being kind of like bored, and then every now and again I'll go and I'll try to do a harder run, and I'm like, holy shit, this is impossible, never mind. But, saying all of that, I do really, really like this game. I don't think it's S, and the only thing stopping it from not being S is it needs a little bit more replayability. Even if you're playing at the same difficulty every time, it needs a little bit more. The game's still getting updates. I've been playing it for a long time. It's come into 1.0 like a couple months ago. It's very good. I'm gonna put it at a solid A, like an A+ even. I will be arranging these, by the way, within each thing. So this is currently the best A, etc. If I put Noita in A and I put it here, it means I like Against the Storm more than Noita. That kind of thing. All right. Balatro. Okay. Again, a very, very, very good game. Made by one dude. Absolutely fucking phenomenal. I was super hyped when it came out. Played the shit out of it. Played the shit out of the demo. But there is going to be a recurring theme here. There's going to be a recurring theme amongst all of the roguelikes that are good, but not great. And that is the replayability of it. I mean, you could probably pull up Northern Lion and say, hey, but he's made like 400 videos on Balatro in the last 2 days. You're like, okay, fair. And I think what he's currently doing is trying to get gold stake on every deck. And it's just pain. A lot of the problems that come from higher difficulties in roguelikes is it becomes more and more about RNG usually than it does about skill. There's only like 1 or 2 of them here who have made it more about skill than they have about RNG. But like in a game like Balatro, when you get to gold stake, it's literally all about, did I get offered the right jokers in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd blind? If not, run's dead. If I did, I have a chance, and then maybe some skill comes into it. Although, I don't know how much skill there is in just playing flashes over and over again. But yeah, I really liked it. I thought that... I don't know. Now all I want to do is get like, the biggest number I could possibly get in Balatro, but that requires such a specific set of jokers. I wish more different like sets of jokers existed instead of just get big money, get a bunch of ×3, ×5, ×5, ×3 kind of things going on, get a bunch of steel cards, get a bunch of, red seals on the steel cards kind of thing, and then you'll get big numbers. I wish there was just different ways that kind of you maybe had to think about a little bit more, or you had to take a little bit more consideration into the things that you could mix together. Hopefully I get an expansion. Oh yeah, I'm hoping for a DLC of some kind that'll really expand things. But I mean, for a game made by a single person, it is probably one of the best, like, roguelikes out there of the current time, considering that it's literally just one dude. You know what I'm saying? And it's had this much cultural impact, within the community and stuff like that. I'm going to put it at an A. I like it less than Against the Storm, though. All right, and then now we're going to come to, it's the Binding of Isaac Rebirth. It's the Binding of Isaac. By the way, with this Binding of Isaac Rebirth, I'm including every DLC all the way, including Repentance, everything. Isaac is F tier. No, I'm joking. Isaac is the roguelike that I have the most time in, and it is the one that I pretty much compare every other roguelike to, for one reason, and that is that Isaac is so insanely replayable. Like, I could not just play the same character or whatever, or the same map in Against the Storm over and over again and be happy. but I could play like 50 runs of Eden, and every single one of them would be interesting and different. You know, up until a point, you get to like you get to like Cathedral and stuff, and your build's kind of like set. But not only is there such variety, but it also requires a lot of skill, like knowing how to deal with each enemies, knowing how to deal with multiple different types of enemies combined, knowing how to deal with all of the bosses is so good. It is so good. There's even variation in the bosses, which is something that doesn't happen a lot in roguelikes. For some reason, I don't know why, but a lot of the more recent roguelikes have the same boss at the end of each like zone. The zone itself is different and like you know, all procedurally generated, blah blah blah, and it feels different every time you go through. But the bosses always just feel the same. But in Isaac, you know, up until you get to It Lives, and then you either go Devil Path or Angel Path, and then, you know, up until there, like the amount of variation in the bosses, and even just the enemies, everything, the variation is so insane. And it only comes from the fact that it's been getting built upon for like, is it over a decade now? It's almost, you know what I kind of feel like when it comes to roguelikes? I think roguelikes and ARPGs share a lot in common when it comes to the longer an ARPG has had to like cook and just add more content and more content and more variety and stuff, the better it is. Like Path of Exile is only good now because it's had, you know, so many content updates that it just keeps building upon it, keeps building upon it. Path of Exile when it first came out, very meh. I wouldn't say Isaac when it first came out was meh, but it definitely did not have the replayability that it has now. But now it has like so many items, so many mechanics, so many like intermingling mechanics between the different items. Obviously, Isaac is S tier. I fucking love that game so much. Oh man, I could talk more about it, but let's, in the interest of brevity, we've got a lot of games to get to. All right, Bone Razor Minions is one that I don't think too many people have heard of. It is a survivors-like, but it's a survivors-like based on summoning minions to fight for you kind of vibe. I quite like it. It's quite a lot more difficult than Vampire Survivors. Like, I've never reached the end of it, for instance, and I've played like 30 to 40 hours of it. But it's properly difficult. Enemy variation is very little, but the character variation, you have so many different classes, you have so many different items you could be getting. There's also a combination of items and stuff like that that's working on there. I quite like it, but it's still not like, I don't know. I feel like there's a limit for how good a Survivors like could be, just because of how limiting the mechanics are. But I really like Bone Razor Minions. I would say I like it more than 20 Minutes Till Dawn, but I don't think it's an A. So I think we're going to put it right there. I like Bone Razor Minions more than 20 Minutes Till Dawn, but it's not, it doesn't quite have the A status. Just because, I mean, I need a more than just moving around. I need more to really engage me enough. And then Brotato, another of the vampire, well, no, the Survivors-esque. Nothing too wrong so far. I think my Brotato opinion is about to make some people upset. I think that Brotato is the worst Survivors game that I have put like 10 plus hours into. What does that say about me? I don't know. But I don't really like Brotato. I think it is the most basic of all of the Survivors games. I think that it has the like least amount of build variety, because usually your build is kind of set once you pick your character. Like, this guy uses guns. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna get every gun and combine them and then get like whatever's good whenever it comes up, kind of thing. I don't know. I've never really clicked with it. I've obviously tried many times to click with it. I don't think it's good. So it's going to be our first C here. It's not terrible, but it's lacking. It's lacking. Not played it, you watched it, but you agree? See, just taking W's all the way here. Right, Crab Champions. Crab Champions is a third person fast action FPS roguelike. Rotato is very good, but the bad runs are worse than bad runs of other roguelikes. I just don't think it's very good. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, Crab Champions, made by the same person who did Crab Rave all those many moons ago. I like Crab Champions. I put a fair amount of hours into it, and I would also like to point out that I think it's still in early access. There's still many things being added. Each update is huge and changes so much stuff. Like there was an update that changed things from having an internal cooldown for proccing to having no internal cooldown and only a higher percentage chance, which made the game a lot more breakable, which we like. We're like messing around a little bit in a roguelike, don't we, folks? So, Crab Champions, the gun variety, it's there, but it's not in a way, because some of the weapons in the game suck. You are against, like, hordes and hordes of crabs, and one of the weapon choices you can get is a sniper rifle that shoots once every, like, 2 seconds. The other weapon choice is a rocket launcher that does the same amount of damage, shoots once every 2 seconds, but also has a big fuck-off explosion that hits more than just one dude. So I feel like the weapon balancing definitely needs to like, change, because it is insane, the difference in some of those weapons. That being said, playing with a good weapon and then just, like, playing the game, it's really fun. I like the upgrades you get. I like the like enemies you fight, even though it gets quite repetitive because most of them are just crabs and crabs do the same thing. I like the, like, zone variation. It's just a good game, and it's very fast paced, and I like fast paced FPS roguelikes or just FPS games in general. It's got a lot of interesting movement mechanics. It's just, I would say Crab Champions is a 3D Dead Cells without a parry, if that makes any sense. So it's a lot more about just fucking running the fuck around, but it is also like hordes of enemies. I guess Dead Cells isn't horde. Ignore that entire bit. Anyway, Crab Champions, it's pretty good. I think I'm gonna give it a low A. I think I like Crab Champions a lot. I like it less than Balatro. Does that make sense? Let me think about that for a second. Crab Champions, I like it less than Balatro. Maybe? I'll revisit this. I'll revisit that. Okay, Curse of the Dead Gods, a surprisingly less known roguelike for some reason. Curse of the Dead Gods and Raven's Watch, which is down here, made by the same people. And I really like Curse of the Dead Gods, except for one thing. But let's first say, not played it. You don't really like watching it, fair enough. Curse of the Dead Gods is really good. It feels smooth. The graphics are amazing. It's got a lot of mechanics that make you feel good if you play well. It has an instant parry, which always feels satisfying to use. But because it has an instant parry, it also throws some hardcore enemies at you that you have to know when to parry and get really good at parrying. But that's enjoyable. It's like weapons are fun to use, and honestly, a lot of them are viable. There's like different play styles based on your weapon. You know, there's different upgrades you can get that help throughout the whole thing. The meta progression is really good. There's only one issue I have really with Curse of the Dead Gods, and that is that the meta progression is so fucking slow. I can do a run to like the second tier. So it works on multiple tiers. There's the first tier where there's 3 zones, and then once you've defeated the boss of that one of those zones, you go to tier 2 of that zone, which is a different zone with a different boss, but it's harder. And then you can go to tier 3, and then tier 4 is just the final boss. I can do a tier 3 run where you go through tier 1, through tier 2, all the way to tier 3, and I can barely afford any meta progression. It is so expensive to progress anything. And the thing is, so much of the meta progression is like insanely good and things that I really want to play with. Like more weapon choices at the start, weapons being more likely to be legendary and stuff like that. I'm like, God, I want to fucking play with this so much. It's a really good game, really interesting mechanics. I like the whole light and darkness mechanic. I love that you gain curse no matter what, and some curses can be good and bad, and you can choose how much curse you can, the high risk, high reward is there, low risk, low reward is there. It's really, really good. But the only thing turning me off of it is the meta progression. I think I like it more than I like a Balatro. I'm gonna actually put this up here in A, right next to Against the Storm. I really like Curse of the Dead Gods. I think it's a sick-ass game. Alright, Dave the Diver. So, I barely consider Dave the Diver a roguelike. I feel like it's more of a story, most exploration game. The meta progression, I guess, is there, but it's also like, I don't know. It is by definition a roguelike, but I think that definition is very a weak one. I think I have about 10-ish hours. I got to the point where I had a ton of employees at the restaurant that just basically run the restaurant for me. And then, my dives were just go down deeper, find like story thing, get some fish, that kind of thing. And obviously the fish became harder and harder to kill, and it just kind of became a bullet sponge thing. And I don't know. At that point, it kind of lost my interest because I didn't need to do anything in the restaurant section. Which if all of your upgrades for a section of the game are you have to do less and less game in that section, that is not a good thing. The fact that Dave the Diver is so heavily incentivizes you to basically never need to do anything in the restaurant means that the restaurant component of Dave the Diver is bad. Because if it was good, why would you want to like make an AI play it instead of you? You know what I'm saying? Thankfully, the restaurant component is the smaller part of the game, but it's still a non-insignificant portion of the game. The diving itself, it was really cool in the beginning, kind of finding things out, seeing what was going on. But then the deeper and deeper you get, it's just like, all right, hit this enemy with my spear or my gun like 15 times, and then I get, ooh, really good fish from this. But I have to just fucking sit here and do it like so many times. I don't know. The fish become too tanky, and the restaurant part, I think I've said enough. Dave the Diver, I'm gonna put it at a low B. The first like 10 hours, I was quite enjoying myself. It should be low. Okay, fair. It's an arena shooter more than a rogue. I mean, it is a roguelike. It does have meta progression. All right, now Dead Cells. Dead Cells is incredible. I really, really love Dead Cells. And I would also say that Dead Cells is probably the highest skill required game on this list. Hold on, I'm going to quickly read through the list again to make sure I'm not going insane. Okay, one of the highest. It's definitely up there. It's sharing with a few other things, but Dead Cells is fucking hard, and it only gets harder. I am currently only at boss cell level 3, and I am getting my ass handed to me. I've played this game for over 100 hours, and I'm getting my shit turned in. The game gets hard, but what I like about it is that it still requires the same mechanics that you've been training this whole time. Parrying with a shield, rolling through things properly, knowing when to strike, using your utility items effectively. Unfortunately, I am a head empty, me go in unga bunga gamer who could benefit a lot from a lot of patience in Dead Cells' later difficulties. But yeah, Dead Cells is insane. The amount of weapon variation is insane. The combat feels so satisfying and rewarding. Getting a nice parry off on a boss or something, it's so fucking enjoyable. It's so hard, but so rewarding to master. There is only one issue I have with it. Hey, Marin. The one issue I have with it is also kind of a spoiler. So if you haven't gotten to 5 boss cells and you don't want to be spoiled on the ending of the game, do not listen. Mute this until I've placed dead cells in one of the slots. Okay. So, dead cells, 5 boss cells unlocks an entirely new area after what we previously thought was the final boss, the Hand of the King. It unlocks a whole new area called the Astrolab with a whole new set of enemies, a whole different map, and a whole new actual final boss. Now that is very cool, but holy fuck is it difficult to get to 5 fucking boss cells and even experience this portion of the fucking game. In my personal opinion, I think that the Astrolab should be unlocked from the first boss cell. If you manage to get to the end, you should be able to have the option of going to the Astrolab and fighting the true final boss. I think that'd be very nice, because honestly, the only reason I'm even going to 5 boss cells is because I want to fucking play the Astrolab. I want to experience this new section. God help me. Anyway, Dead Cells, it's an S. I fucking love Dead Cells. It's obviously a Binding of Isaac beats it, but look, it's an S. Dead Estate. Dead Estate is an isometric, like, shooting roguelike. I don't really know how to describe it. You have little square rooms, and you can, like, little bounce around in the square rooms, and you shoot things with guns. There's a lot of guns, and it's quite fun. I don't really like isometric gameplay. I'm gonna just be honest. Not the hugest fan of, like, isometric, mostly just because the perspective always feels weird to me, and sometimes I get hit by things that I think I shouldn't be hit by because, like, angles, I don't know, brain too small or something like that. The story is actually interesting, the levels are interesting, the bosses are pretty cool, the weapon variation that I've seen is cool. One thing that I hate about this game, and I hate any roguelike that does this, is it has a, like, invisible level timer. And what happens is, once you spend too long on a floor, an unkillable, very fast enemy starts running towards you, and if it touches you, you die. And I'm like, fuck that shit. I want to be able to explore. Like, imagine if Binding of Isaac had, like, the mom ghost thing that, like, charges at you, spawn if you spent more than 5.5 minutes in a floor. I would hate that. I would get a mod to unfucking do that, because I want to be able to go back, like, pick up things that I couldn't get before, but oh, now I have the money for it, let me go back, let me get that. Let me fucking min-max, me squeeze every little bit of fucking tit juice out of a floor that I can, alright? I hate games that have that, like, little invisible, you gotta get your shit together thing. And honestly, it's such a negative for Dead Estate. Like, the rest of the game is genuinely so good. It's so good. I love it. I fucking hate it. I hate that level timer. I'm gonna put it in B. I'm gonna put it above Dave the Divers. Honestly, if it didn't have whatever that level thing is, it'd probably be up here above Battletrome. But fuck that. Alright, let me take a little slurp. I've been talking a lot. This is a university lecture. You're here to learn. This is gonna be a long-ass video. Okay. Deadlink. Another game that surprisingly few people know about. Deadlink is a roguelike Doom. That is really it. Like, I don't know how else to put it, because that so perfectly encapsulates what it is. And I love Doom, and I love Doom Eternal, and I love just the meaty feeling gameplay, the up close and personal, punch a bitch in a fucking mouth, and and blow a motherfucker up gameplay. It even has the aspect where you need to like finish off enemies in a way to regain armor, to regain health. So it very much incentivizes get the fuck in there, cowboy, and do your shit. It's also quite hard, and oh man, the bosses are very easy compared to the levels, especially in the later levels. Except the final boss. Final boss fucking beats my ass. But I really wish that the first, second, and third bosses were a little bit more interesting, a little bit more actually difficult, because as it is right now, it is so easy to just roll over those bosses. Not as easy to roll over the levels, but there's very interesting gameplay, interesting combinations of shit that you can do. I really, really like Deadlink, and I really wish more people would play it. The guns themselves don't actually have that much variation, because your primary weapon in each character will never change. You'll always have the same primary weapon. Which isn't the worst thing, but it does limit the variation. And then you have a secondary weapon, which is like your heavy weapon. And honestly, I found that the best thing to do is to literally ignore it, because if you just focus on upgrading your primary weapon with the augments, and then focus on like making your abilities stronger, you will win more frequently than if you try and like upgrade your heavy weapon. It's just not it. It's just not it. So the meta progression's also decent. Yeah, the variation between runs isn't great, but the actual gameplay and the actual just like getting the fuck in there cowboy experience, that Doom experience, is so enjoyable that it makes up for the lack of variation in gameplay. I'm gonna put this in A. Let me think a second. I like it more than Crab Champions. I think I like it more than Balatro. I really like Deadlink. I'm seeing a lot of things are in A right now. To be fair, this is a list of games that I've played long enough to have an opinion of them. So it would make sense that a lot of things are in A. Anyway, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, one of the newest in the Survivor genre. And it's quite nice. I like it. It's difficult, and it actually has some skill in knowing like, oh, should I mine through this wall to try and escape this horde? Or should I like just try and freaking jump through? Yeah, I can. Yeah, I'm gonna adjust at the end. I'm gonna adjust at the end. I like the weapons, but some of the weapons suck, and some of the weapons are mandatory, which I do not like in a Survivors type game. Again, 20 Minutes Till Dawn suffered from the same thing. Bone Razor Minions doesn't suffer from the same thing. Brotato does kind of suffer from the same thing of, you need X weapon to even have a decent run. Or, like, if you don't get X weapon, it's going to be like a coin flip whether you even make it past the stage. But it's nice, it's beautiful, it's fun. I like it. I think I might like it more than Bone Razor Minions. Definitely less than Crab Champions. I'm gonna put it right here in B. I like it, and also more updates are coming out for it. New things happening. It's still got plenty of time to go. Brotato doesn't have that, but okay. Most sanest Brotato defender. Love you, uncle. But Brotato does have that if you suck at the game. And I suck at the game. Okay, Ember Knights. Oh boy, do I have things to say about Ember Knights. I'm gonna try to be quick with this though. Ember Knights is focused on co-op gameplay, but I played it by myself because I have no friends. And if you want to know why I have no friends, just see how I've been treating Uncle in the chat. But it's still actually quite enjoyable solo. I have defeated the final boss multiple times, and you see, the thing about that is once you defeat the final boss X amount of times, it unlocks an entire new fucking section of meta progression that breaks the game. All right? Let me explain. So you have, I think it's 6 or 7. At the end, once you've defeated the final boss, you have 7 different weapons that you can choose. And then, you know, there's like abilities that you get throughout the run, and then that's like the things you use. Now, there was no way to like upgrade each of the weapons. Like this was the sword was the sword. It just did sword things. Once you fucking unlock this whole new meta progression, it adds weapon upgrades that are insane. It makes the bow have an explosion on it and can fucking, if you hit a power shot, it'll ping pong between all of the enemies. And it's like, holy shit, that makes the game like so much easier. Why am I unlocking this last? Once I've already perfected the game, I've already defeated the final boss multiple times, and then they're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, here's the most OP shit you've ever seen in your life. I'm like, oh, okay, well then why even bother playing the game? Because now it is so beyond easy that there is no need for me to even bother. There is no like thing to work towards now. It's just brain dead. And the problem with it, if this was like after 100 hours you unlocked this, maybe it'd be better. I unlocked this after 9 hours of playing the game. I played the game for 9 hours. I defeated the boss multiple times. It was hard, but I did it. And then it unlocked this and I was like, oh, why did I even bother? It felt like it invalidated everything about the game. It felt like it invalidated the entire skill that I've learned up until that point in all my learnings. I didn't need to learn anything. I just needed these weapon upgrades. I don't know. It really, really soured my opinion of the game. Before those weapon upgrades, I would say Ember Knights was really good. I'd put it up here in the A tier. After those weapon upgrades, I honestly think it fucks the game so hard, Ember Knights goes into C. Above Brotato, though. It actually fucks the game so hard. Queso from Timu, get a like more interesting joke. I've heard that one before. Gunfire Reborn. This is again an FPS roguelike, although the big difference from this one and other FPS roguelikes, like RoboQuest, like Deadlink, like Crab Champions, actually, I think every other one, okay, Mortal Sin is different, but Mortal Sin is different in every way. Gunfire Reborn is very slow. Your movement in the game is very slow. And I don't like that. What I really, really like about RoboQuest and Deadlink and Crab Champions is you can just fucking zoom around, dude. It makes the game so much more engaging. It makes it so much more fucking crazy when you just zooping around and the enemies are fast and just everything's going wacky. Gunfire Reborn is very much more like things walk at you slowly. You walk away slowly and shoot them while that happens. That's it. Like, it's really not that in depth. Also, the weapons are kind of here or there. A lot of the weapons feel very similar to each other, and also like they just, I don't know. The meta progression also has very similar things. Like it's add 100 damage to your main ability. There's nothing like interesting or wacky going on there, but it's still fundamentally like a decent game. There's a lot going on with it. And get fucked, you didn't get Cheap Mike. That's a good thing, because I don't want Cheap Mike activated right now. Anyway, Gunfire Reborn, it's okay. It's okay. I'd probably put it here in B tier. Above the two Bone Razor Minions and 20 Minutes Till Dawn, the Survivor-esques. Yeah, that seems about good. Okay, so now we have Hades and Hades 2. I'm going to talk about these two games at the same time. Hades, before I played Hades 2, again, I played like 80 hours or something of this, and it is so good. I loved Hades. I loved the story of it. It's so rare that you actually get a roguelike that has a decent fucking story. It's good. I love that shit. And the story is also just like actually interesting and engaging. Like the first time I defeated Hades and made it out to the surface, and then I was like, holy shit, that's my mom. And I was like, I need to find out more about this. I have to keep talking to her. And that was like a huge push for me to try and do better and better each run, to like find out more about the story. And that is sick. I love that. I love that about Hades. The one thing I will say about Hades is that the meta progression makes you so fucking strong. It is crazy. So it has the, I think it's what the Mirror of Darkness, the Mirror of Nyx or something like that, where you can get meta progression upgrades, which includes like 30 crazy things, like getting Death's Defiances, which raises you. You can get 3 of them. 3 of them, dude. That's insane. Okay. And then what it does to counteract that is once you've defeated Hades once, you can activate like flame or whatever, so you can make things harder for yourself. And it's okay. I've gotten up to like 16 flame and still enjoyed myself. But then it started to get to the point where a lot of the things were like rough, non-fun modifiers that I didn't want to add. Like, oh, you have to sacrifice 1 boon at the end of every area. I don't want to fucking do that. Fuck you. Oh, you gotta get a time limit on how fast you can go through this area. Honestly, the first level time limit doesn't even matter, but it's like, I hate being time limited. All that being said, it is a fantastic game. It like grabbed me for 80 plus hours. I really, 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 really liked Hades. I'm gonna put it just below Against the Storm, because Against the Storm I still play and Hades I don't, even before Hades 2 came out, because once you've reached the end of the, I wouldn't say campaign, but once you've reached the end of the story, a lot of that drive to keep going kind of falls away. Like, there's no more story to discover. There is just do the same thing over and over again now. Now, again, it's still high A, an amazing game. Hades 2 is so fucking good. I fucking love Hades 2. They took Hades 1. They took the ridiculous mobility, the ridiculous damage that you do, and the like basically ineptitude of any enemies that aren't the boss. And they're like, how do we make this better? Hades 2, things deal a lot more damage. You are a lot slower. You don't have 2 dashes. It's a lot harder to unlock Death's Defiances over time, that kind of thing. But you have a lot more things at your disposal. You have a cast now, which ensnares enemies. You have like different weapon abilities, and you have like omega moves and all of this kind of stuff. You have a lot of more tools at your disposal. I really like that. And it's also in early access. There's still so much more to come. There's still like, yeah, so much content that's going to be added to it, and I'm really looking forward to that. The bosses in Hades 2 are, firstly, in my opinion, very well designed, very distinct, and very fucking hard. Like, the first boss isn't that hard once you understand what's going on, right? The second boss, again, not that hard once you understand what's going on, but it has a lot more going on for it. Also, the second boss music, fucking phenomenal. And then, like, once you get to Cerberus, that shit is hard even if you know what's going on. But it just, you know, obviously it's a roguelike, it gets easier with time. And then Kronos is just a fucking hell. Kronos is hell, and it's perfect. I thought I'd almost defeated Kronos once when I got his first phase down to like 10%. I was like, fuck, that was so close. Okay, I gotta go again. I'm gonna try this again. I'll fucking get there. I got this. Oh my god, that fight was crazy. That fight was so hard, but it was exhilarating. And then I went back, and I'm like, yeah, I got him down. Yeah, final hit. And then phase 2 is like, I think you forgot about me, champ, and beat the absolute shit out of me. And I was like, holy fuck, there's a phase 2. Fuck me. But then I was like, all right, I'm going to beat the shit out of Kronos phase 2. Let's do this. And I did. And it was so fucking enjoyable. It's such a difficult boss. I feel very much like it was what Hades was in the first game. A really difficult boss that really fucking tested you. And I think that the difficulty level of everything in Hades is honestly perfect. There is like a few tweaks I would make to some of the weapons. But yes, it has no boss variation, but nor did Hades. But the thing about that is, I don't care. I know that I've said boss variation is a huge thing in the other ones, but honestly, I think that the bosses are so interesting and the movement is so juicy and flowy and the battle is just so like good that it doesn't really matter. Like, I don't mind that I fight Kronos every time. I don't mind that I fight Scylla every time and that I fight Cerberus every time, because every time it's like I need to actually think and fucking game. And then it's like, if that isn't enough, it has a whole extra world of stuff to explore, which is not finished yet because it's early access. There's only one section missing, which is actually Mount Olympus. But it's got the surface that you can go and explore, and it's got different mechanics, and it's got completely different enemies and different bosses, and it's fucking so cool. It's insane. When I first made it all the way to Kronos and defeated Kronos, I was like, that's crazy. That was like a whole Hades game. And then they added a whole extra Hades game to the Hades game. They put two Hades in Hades 2, alright, is all I'm trying to say, and that's fucking crazy. That is insane. And what I really, really appreciate is every single update that's come out since its release has added quality of life features that make sense and that the community asked for, which clearly means that the game is moving in a positive direction. It's moving towards greatness. I like Hades 2 more than I like Hades 1. The story of Hades 2 is weaker, but I want to also say that a lot of the story elements, in fact, most of the story elements are only actually being released when Hades 2 1.0 is being released. I can't really fault the story or anything. If it turns out that the story is shit, Mount Olympus area is shit, and all the changes they make are shit, it's gonna suck, but I highly doubt it just because of the way they've been doing things so far, the quality of the game as it is now. I love Hades 2. I am gonna put Hades 2 above Dead Cells. Right now, I think Hades 2 is my second favorite roguelike that I have ever played. I really like Hades 2. It's really good. It's actually really good, man. I just like it a lot. And I think that that's going to be the most disagreed opinion in my chat, that Hades 2 and even Hades itself is so high up. You disagree with the ranking because you didn't get on with the first Hades. That's fair. That's fair. Right. Now, Hellcard. Hellcard is an insanely cool game. You agree with Hades 2, not Hades 1? Fair enough. Fair enough. Hellcard is an insanely cool game with in-depth mechanics, a lot of thought that you need to put into it, a lot of like different decks you can build, different mechanics, a lot of player agency. Hellcard sucks playing alone. It sucks so much dick because of all of the crazy like in-depth of every character. It is meant to be played with 3 people, each person controlling a single character, right? When you play Hellcard by yourself, you control all 3 characters, and there is just too much going on, too many different mechanics, too much different stuff to get to keep track of, to possibly like understand what's going on, and it just becomes too much. But when you're playing Hellcard as a group of 3, which I have done with Hale, with Uncle, and with Xantlaw here in chat, it is so fucking cool. It's really, really fun. But the fact that you have to get 3 fucking lads together, or 2, you can play with 2. The fact that you gotta get 3 fucking lads together. Uncle, didn't we play Hellcard together? I saw you played Hellcard together, Uncle. Am I going insane? Never mind. You're not Hale? I know. I said Hale. All skillish on that one. You don't have a problem keeping up with playing 3 characters? Well, you're just better than me. Hellcard, if I could play it with 3 people, I know it was Hale and Zan, but didn't we play it together as well? It was you, Hale, me, and then also me, Hale, Zan. Yeah, I think you're getting lost in the semantics. Anyway, if I could play with 3 people all the time, whenever I felt like it, I would put Hellcard at probably S underneath Dead Cells. But because like I can rarely actually get a fucking gang together to play it, I almost never play it. Like and also visually for stream, it is not an interesting game. Requires a lot of thought, requires you just kind of sit there and fucking think. But I don't know. This one is a really difficult one for me to rank. I'm gonna put it at high B because if I was Deep Rock Galactic Survivors refuses to be dethroned. Okay. If it was only the multiplayer, it'd be up there in S. If it was only the single player, it'd be down there in like C. I think high B is like the middle ground here. Loop Hero is not a game. It is a like slightly interactive shitty movie. D. The reason I say this is because there is almost no decisions being made. There is almost no gameplay. There is 2 things you can do. Thing 1, place down a land of some variety. Thing 2, change the equipment that your character has on. Those are the 2 things you can do. It's so fucking boring. I enjoyed it for a little bit, but then I was like, wait, is this all there is? That's it? What the fuck? I don't like Loop Hero. I am embarrassed that I put so much time into it, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Mortal Sin. Again, another game that not that many... Strong disagree, you really like Loop Hero? It's too boring, man. It doesn't have anything to do. It doesn't have anything to do. That's all I'm saying. Mortal Sin is another one that I think a lot of people haven't heard about, and it is polarizing because of the graphics of it. It's very, very different looking. And at first, I did not like it because I was like, this game like is an assault to my eyes. I dislike this intently. But after having played it for a little bit, I'm like, this is the best looking roguelike I've ever played. It's just such an interesting, unique graphical style. It's so good. The one really shitty thing about the graphical style is because it's so unique, it tanks bitrate. I cannot do a recording of it. I cannot stream it because I've tried to do a 10-minute recording of Mortal Sin. The recording was 150 gigabytes. I tried to do a stream of Mortal Sin, and the bitrate was so ass that you can barely see anything. There is a streamer mode which heavily desaturates everything, and then the game just looks like shit. That's very sad. I really dislike it. It's like the anti-recording game because it's so fucking good, and I'd love to show people about it, but I literally can't. I don't think that should take away from its score. I don't think any of these I'm scoring them on how good they are on stream, because then I would probably put like Isaac like on B tier and Balatro on S tier, and then like, you know, I'm not ranking them, so I don't think I'm gonna consider that, but it is a gripe I have with the game. The gameplay is like a fighting game meets Doom, sort of. Like, it's mostly melee combat. It's a lot of parrying. It's a lot of, like, hordes of enemies getting in your fucking face. And it's a lot of, like, trying your best to survive and then just whipping out your big old windmilling dick and, like, shredding a whole room. It's great. I love Mortal Sin. I'm putting it in S tier. I like Mortal Sin more than I like Against the Storm. Do I like Mortal Sin more than I like Hades? Yes. I like Mortal Sin. There is zero story. Okay, no, it's not zero. There's like some story, but it is so forgettable that I don't even pay any attention to it. Honestly, not even that much variety, but it's such an interesting and fun fucking game, and it's so unique. Okay, maybe let me not go crazy. Let me put it there. I like it about him as much as Against the Storm. It's just so unique and interesting and good. But now that I think about it, yeah, the fact that there's no variation, or very little variation, and the bosses aren't even really. There's only one boss in the game, and it's kind of forgettable. Like, okay, no, wait, maybe fair enough. Maybe not an S. It's a very, very good game. I love Mortal Sin. Okay, slurp time. Okay, Noita. Oh boy, do I have things to say about Noita. If you took just the mountain area of Noita, where it's just you keep descending, you go through the portal, you buy whatever, you keep descending, keep descending, keep descending. If they had just took that and focused all of their dev into just that section, I think Noita might have been one of the best games of all time. But what they did instead was they were like, we're gonna make this area, the starting area, where you go down through the portals, whatever, and then you can fight a boss, and then you can win. And then we're going to have 95% of the rest of the game. So that's the 5%. 95% of the game is going to be obscure, obtuse, you don't even know it exists, random bullshit going on everywhere else that isn't in the main area. There is a whole moon section that I've never seen. There is like kilometers on either side of stuff with their own like little dungeons and stuff. The problem is all of these extra areas surprisingly don't actually add any variation. There is a few extra bosses it adds, which are cool, I guess. But if they had just instead incorporated those bosses somehow into the main fucking section of the game, the section of the game that everyone actually plays, instead of like spreading them out kilometers apart from each other where you just have to sit and walk for like 30 minutes not doing anything, I don't know. And the fact that it tells you literally nothing, like there is no way to know about the extent of the game unless you are extremely stubborn at exploring or just look it up. In fact, there's plenty of things in the game that still haven't been figured out because there is no clues. There is no hints. It is made by a bunch of Finnish sadists. It's just like a cruelty squad. And I really dislike that. That being said, it is the best stream integration game that there is. The stream integration on Noita is amazing, and it's literally the only reason I still play Noita sometimes. I haven't played it in a while. It's because it's such an interesting and fun stream integration thing to just play the main little section with on integration on, and chat can fuck you around or help you. It's a good time. Alright? The game is very hard, rewards patience, but fuck me if they just, I don't know, they added way too much to it without adding any breadcrumbs to it at all. And people might be like, oh, you should just explore. Oh, that's your fault for not exploring too much. Oh, that's your fault for not, like, thinking that there's more out there. Or, like, exploring, and, oh, maybe if you had thought to get to the bottom of this lava lake, then you would have found it. And I'm like, no, fuck you. It's just bad game design. Like, it's not, ooh, it's difficult, and, ooh, you just gotta explore. It's just bad game design. That's all it is. It's just bad game design. You have to mod it to make it even playable. That's true. You do have to mod it to make it playable, in my opinion. And yeah, the actual spell options are very limited, but that's only if, yeah, I don't know. Noita has so much going for it. So many components that could have been so good if they just focused on making a smaller, more compact, more enjoyable game. And this is going to be a weird one because I have played over 100 hours of Noita. And like I said, it is the best integration game that there is. But I think it's time to stop normalizing developers making games that so clearly hate the people playing it. Like, there is out and out disdain and like the game spits on you, and I don't want to like it anymore. I'm putting Noita in D. And it's hard for me to put it in D because it does have so many interesting things going on for it. It does, and there's so many interesting spells, and it is genuinely fun to play when you're doing stream integration, but it's just not. I'm marking it down for how good it could be and how much it isn't that game. I don't know. I think Noita as well is one of those games that's so much more enjoyable to watch someone play than to actually play. Give Noita to a completely different dev team. Yeah, give Noita to a dev team that actually likes their player base for a year, and it'll be one of the best games in the entire fucking world. There is a huge cult following on Noita. People who love the fact that it fucking is literally cock and ball torture the game. That's fair enough. That ain't me, Chief. Fuck Noita. Okay, Peglin. It doesn't have that much variation. It's kind of cute. I thought it was decent. Updates are really slow. Gameplay is very one note, even if they try to make it a little bit more notes than that. Peglin is C tier. I'm gonna put it below Brotato. Not much of a fan of it. I played it a lot just because I want to like it. I don't like it. Raven's Watch. I put like 40 hours into Raven's Watch in like a week and a half, and put a little bit more time into it after that, and then basically haven't touched it since. But that doesn't mean that I think it's a bad game. Raven Watch is so fucking fun. It's Curse of the Dead Gods, but with more refinement and more of a multiplayer leaning. Or I mean, Curse of the Dead Gods had no multiplayer. Raven's Watch multiplayer is very fun. It makes the game 10 times harder, and it's genuinely enjoyable, and I fucking loved playing it with Onkel and Hale. It was really, really good. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with the latest update. I really, really like it, but I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant to put it above Curse of the Dead Gods any higher than here until it has a 1.0 release. But if the 1.0 release is really good, it might be an S tier. Raven's Watch slaps. Raven's Watch is really good. I really like it. All right. RoboQuest is the best FPS roguelike that has ever come out, ever. RoboQuest has insane music, really enjoyable movement, enjoyable guns, interesting new characters. It just got an update that adds an entirely new character, new quest, new area. Got a ton of zones. It's got difficulty. RoboQuest is very, very good. It's very good. The only thing I could fault it on is it doesn't have that much variety once you've kind of gone through the game a few times. And then you like kind of start doing the same thing over and over. But even then, it still has enough to keep you going for a while. Played over 100 hours of this game. RoboQuest is insanely good. I am putting it above Dead Cells in S. Do I like it more than Hades? I'm putting it above Hades? No, wait. I think I like RoboQuest more than I like Hades 2. I'm not gonna lie. I think Hades 2 has more content, but RoboQuest perfected the FPS roguelike genre in one go, and it just fucking destroys everything else in the genre so easily. RoboQuest is S. Second S. And looking at the rest of these games, I highly doubt it. But yeah, Hades 2 does have plenty more to come. Things might change, but as it is now, I like RoboQuest more. And it is an insanely good game. Okay, Nuclear Throne is an old one. Nuclear Throne is like a throwback to when Binding of Isaac Rebirth came out. And it is an incredibly hard game. Very, very fun. Has got interesting weapon play. Unfortunately, It doesn't have that much replayability, mostly because to get to the point where you can do fun things, you always have to have the same weapons and like the same character and mutations. It's rough, but Nuclear Throne is really good though. It is really, really good. It's one of my formative like roguelike experiences. I think I have over 200 hours in it. I played the shit out of it. Like Nuclear Throne and Binding of Isaac were the first two roguelikes I ever played, and the only ones I played for a long time. You remember the old Spiff videos on Nuclear Throne? Oh yeah, I did Nuclear Throne videos way back, and I sucked at it. I really like Nuclear Throne, but as it stands now, like way back then I would have said Nuclear Throne S, easy. But now so many other roguelikes have come out that are just better, but they have everything good about them is like thanks to Nuclear Throne in a way. So it is a very formative game, but right now, kind of meh. Honestly, I hate to do it to you, but I'm putting you in low beer. Beer? I'm putting you in low B. Because it's a really good game. It's really good. Just not so much anymore. Better things have come out. You've only got a couple of them wrong? Okay, I see how it is. Okay, Soulstone Survivors is the best Survivors game. Hands down, with literally no... like, by far it is the best one. Because of one reason. It takes the just move around, and it adds a dodge. And with that one simple addition, it becomes so much more of an engaging game. Because instead of just walking around, now you have to actively dodge all of the shit that's coming at you, because if you don't, you will die really quickly. The fact that you dodge just adds that extra little bit of engagement that I needed from the Survivors genre. It is the best Survivors game. It's still a Survivors game below Crab Champions. The variation, the meta progression, insane. It has probably more content than Vampire Survivors at this point, which is saying something. It's got all these different characters. It's got this huge like ascension skill tree that is very cool. The updates are insane, and they listen to their community. There was an update they dropped that people didn't like. They reverted the entire update, reworked it, and then 2 weeks later it was out in a much, much better form. And that's some respectable shit. I respect the fuck out of that, dude. Also, Flash, hi, yes, we're doing a tier list. I would put Soulstone Survivors much higher. It is still a Survivors game. It's still even though it has a dash, it still only has movement and a dash. You know what I'm saying? It's still so good. I love Soulstone Survivors. Alright. Now, Nuclear Throne was a foundational game. But so is Slay the Spire. And the difference here is Slay the Spire was foundational, but it still is so good. It still holds up however long since it was released. Slay the Spire is the definitive deck building roguelike out there. It is the inspiration for literally every other deck building roguelike you've ever played. I can guarantee it. And I have over like 250 hours in Slay the Spire. And I only started pushing for Ascension like somewhat recently. I got like Ascension 20 on Ironclad and like 19 on Defect, and then like much lower on Watcher and Silent. It's so good, man. The only issue I have with it is that honestly, some cards suck dick. And I hate Timekeeper. Timekeeper is the worst boss design to ever exist. Because it so hard counters a particular deck or it's a particular brand of deck, which also happens to be one of the most fun brands of deck for a few of the characters. Like, the most fun silent deck is a Shiv deck. The most fun defect deck is like a massive draw claw deck. Alright? Spinning Top is one of the most fun fucking relics you can get. And Timekeeper hard counters every single one of them. And it sucks. You have to play less fun decks in higher ascensions just so that you have a chance of defeating Timekeeper. And I hate that. I will also say that there is a whole, like, game-changing mod called Downfall that adds so much content and like so many tweaks and stuff that I view Downfall as a DLC for Slay the Spire that made the game better. I'm not going to rank it based on Downfall, which is a community-made mod, but I will say that if you play Slay the Spire, you have to check out Downfall. It's literally on Steam separately. It's so good. You gotta play Downfall. Slay the Spire, though, it's really, really good. Fuck Timekeeper. I'm putting Slay the Spire, yeah, on A. Slay the Spire would be S if Timekeeper was not Timekeeper, and if it was easier to get the cards that you needed for certain decks to work. A lot of it is based on RNG. Maybe I just need to get better. Fair enough. Tiny Rogues. We have 4 left. We have Tiny Rogues, Vampire Survivors, Tales and Tactics, and Wild Frost. Tiny Rogues is an 8-bit roguelike that has many homages to Dark Souls and a whole bunch of other roguelikes. It's really good. It's a bullet hell, and I like bullet hells. It's got a bunch of really interesting weapons. It has a bunch of in-depth mechanics. It has things that fucking synergize so interestingly with each other. It's got huge boss variation. It's got just so much good stuff going for it. And it's not even in 1.0 yet. It's being worked on by a very small dev team from what I know. And the updates are quite sparse, but they are good. And it's a really, really good game. It has such replayability. I honestly think I'm putting Tiny Rogues in S. I think Tiny Rogues is really, 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 really good. It's better than most of the games on this list, and it's not even fully out yet. I really like Tiny Rogues. You don't like Bullet Hells, which I know Uncle doesn't. You're not going to like it very much, and that's perfectly fair. Fucking love Tiny Rogues. It's so good. Also, it has like 30 different characters or something, each with their own unique abilities. It's so good. I love that game. All right. From watching it, that's wild, but you not play this, won't judge. I just think it's the difficult game to watch just because once you get to the high difficulties, there's so much shit going on the screen that it's barely possible to even discern what's happening unless you're actually playing it. I really, really like Tiny Rogues, man. I think it's such a good game. It doesn't do anything really new, but it just does what it does so perfectly that it doesn't need to be doing anything new. It doesn't need to be like revolutionary or anything. It's just a fucking good, solid ass motherfucking game. Alright, sorry, there's ants trying to eat my food. I'm gonna try and eat them first. Let me just move this slightly. That's for after I do the tier list. That's a little treat for me. Okay, Vampire Survivors was the first ever Survivors. It changed a whole genre. It created a whole genre. It was revolutionary. And I don't like it. I have bought the last 2 DLCs for Vampire Survivors because I feel like I have to. Because of how much of an impact it had on the whole genre. I almost feel like it's a what do you call it when you just give money to the church every week? It's just like a pittance that I have to do it. I have not played either of the previous 2 DLCs of Vampire Survivors. I just think that it doesn't matter how much more they add to it. It's the fact that it's just moving around, and some weapons are just so much better than other weapons that there's nothing more they can add. Like, more content doesn't add more mechanics. Like in Dead Cells, when they added more content, it added new mechanics as well, and new weapons that changed how you interacted with enemies. Vampire Survivors, more enemies is just a different skin for the enemy that runs directly towards you, because that's what every enemy does in the game. Or like, it's a different weapon that's just a slightly different version of this weapon. I don't know, there's just not enough variation because of how restrictive the Survivors genre base mechanics are. And I hate to do it to such a, again, formative game. It's a C to me. It's above Ember Knights. But it's a C. I don't know. It's just not, it's not kept my interest for a very long time. When I first played it, I thought it was really cool. Then I played it a little bit more and I was like, wow, this is just not that interesting. Like 10 minutes into the run, I get all the stuff I need, and then I never have to move again. Like the end goal of Vampire Survivors builds are to try and not play as much as possible. The less you have to move, the better your build is. That's boring. Okay, Tales and Tactics is one of the first of its kind. What is its kind? It is a auto-battler roguelike. If you've seen Teamfight Tactics, if you've seen, I literally think it's called Auto Battler or something like that, the Dota 2 one, you know what's going on here, but it's the roguelike version. You get characters, you level them up, you have events that you go through, and then you're playing against AI, which doesn't make it any like worse or anything than that. It's a good game. It's had a few updates recently, which I have not looked at, just because of one thing in the game that's kind of a nitpick, and also kind of just like a pet peeve of mine. The voice acting in the game sounds like it's some 22-year-old dude in his mom's basement, and he's just talking like this is the first time he's read the lines. And I really hate to say that, because I'm sure it's not that at all. I just really dislike the voice acting in this game. I really don't like it. The gameplay itself is enjoyable. Trying out all of the different like combination of units is enjoyable. I wish some combinations were a little bit more interesting. Again, they've done a lot of updates that I just haven't played. So literally their newest update, I think, is called Brand New Game Update, where they changed so much of the game that they basically called it a brand new game. It's still in early access. I think once it reaches 1.0, I'm going to play it again, and it's probably going to be so different that I won't even recognize it, and I'll love it. As it is now, I'm putting it below Ember Knights. Yikes. Below Ember Knights, just because the voice acting wouldn't be bad if the dude didn't talk all the fucking time. I don't know. Survivor's game is about the simplicity Soul Stone Survivors would not. Hadean Tactics. Tale and Tactics looked like a lot like Teamfight Tactics, and you didn't like that. I play Teamfight Tactics every single day. It does look a lot like it, and I quite enjoy it. Alright, and then finally, Wild Frost, the newest addition to this list, actually, because I only got this like less than a week ago. It's very fun. It's not, has zero depth. I thought there was a lot more depth than there was. I thought that there was going to be like 12 clans or something like that. There is only 3 clans, and they share a lot between them. And the variation in enemies and bosses is 0. You fight the same enemies, same bosses, all the fucking time. And every time you play a deck, you're trying to find the same cards because some of the like heroes you can get are just so fucking OP that you just want them every time. Like the one deck that is so good is you just get the one dude who, whenever you sacrifice one of your units, he attacks twice, and then you just get sacrifice cards and you just win the game because it's just so broken OP. And there's no early access reason for, oh, there's not that much content, stuff like that. It's a full game. It's been out for a while. It needs more content. If it had way more variation, if it had like 12 different tribes for you to choose and the cards weren't shared between the tribes, it would be probably one of the best deck building roguelikes that has ever existed. As it stands right now, it does not have enough going on for it, man. The meta progression is also very meh. I'm going to put Wild Frost. The first 10 hours were incredible. I cannot play the game anymore because I've done everything that I can in the game. There's nothing more. I will say that the one very, very interesting mechanic is that the end boss of every run is the character you were in the last time you beat a run, which I thought was a very, very cool mechanic. I thought it was like sick to play basically against yourself, your previous version. The problem is they don't have spells, you do, and spells constitute a large majority of why some decks work. So it turns out that it doesn't actually add that much variety because most of the time it's just beat the shit out of them before they can attack, and that's it. I still think it's pretty good. I think it has way less going on for it than Hellcard, though, which is also a roguelike deck battler. Dick battler. I'm putting it, yeah, B tier, below Dead Estate, below 20 Minutes Till Dawn, below Bone Razor Minions. So that's all of it. It's been placed in. Let me just have a look through here. I think I'm going to make one change at the start, is I'm bringing Tiny Rogues down, and I'm taking Against the Storm up. Against the Storm, I think, is S tier. Tiny Rogues, I think, is A tier, because I do like Against the Storm more than I like Tiny Rogues. That's by Hades. This is going to be weird, but just because I don't know, after everything in Hades is said and done, there's not much else going for it. Putting Raven's Watch slightly above Hades. I'm putting Curse of the Dead Gods above Hades. The rest of this seems fine. Alcard, that seems good. Vampire Survivors. I think I need to move Noita out of D tier and put it into C. And also put it above Peglin. Maybe Brotato. Okay, there we go. That's it. That's all I'm changing. That's all I'm changing. We're moving Noita slightly up. We swapped these two over here, and I think we just moved Raven's Watch a little bit up. And Curse of the Dead Gods a little bit up. But I think that's it. I think this is how I feel about all of the roguelikes that I have played for more than... for enough time to have an opinion on them. But, yeah. Any major like fuck yous about this list? I know Loop Hero being low is not a accurate one for Hale. I'm sure Brotato being low is also not accurate for Uncle. But this is not financial advice.